Just because I love you, it don't mean I trust you. Everybody not to be trusted. Everybody around me thugging. Everybody around me drugging. Everybody around me hustling. Everybody know not to bring no new around me that say I be bugging. Got racks in the go-yard luggage. Just because I love you, it don't mean I trust you. Everybody not.
What's up, everybody? Welcome to the show. Is another episode of Uncut with Q, and I'm your host today, Quentin Flores. And guys, today we're going to be doing what we call a long-form episode. So if this is your first time listening to the show, we have some requests. So if you, for whatever reason, gain value from this show, all I ask is that you share this with someone close to you. All right. Now, don't just share the show like on your social media. Do that if you want. But I'm saying, like, send this to a friend, send this to a family member, get real, like tight knit with how you share things. Because to me, I want to reach the people, but I want to reach the correct people. And so I always know that if you have somebody on your mind while you're listening to the show and you shared it with them, man, that means you genuinely care about this person. So I definitely want you to share this show with someone that you care about. And so if this is, again, your first time listening, we have multiple different types of variations of shows. We have Real Talk, where I come on here and I say some things from my head. We have where I surf the internet, say some cool stuff about things that we find out. I bring in guests, and these guests talk about things that they have going on in their life, whether it be in faith, family, fitness, or finance. We talk about a little bit of everything. Predominantly, guys, a lot of y'all think that this show is just about real estate. It's really not, man. It's uncut stories, uncut experiences, uncut life hacks on how you can literally become a better person just by like listening to this show. And not every show is like, hoorah, like, oh my God, I'm going to go and be a better person. Sometimes just perspective, man. And so again, if we challenge traditional thinking, if we gave you perspective, if you thought like, wow, this episode kept me awake at night, then I know that we're doing a good job. And so share the shit out of this show. With that being said, man, today I got a really awesome guest into my studio. Go ahead and introduce yourself to the world, my friend.
My name is Cameron Summers, and I'm the owner of Fit Foodie Meals here in San Antonio, Texas. We're a local meal prep service. We've been in business for a pretty short time, about 1.5 to 2 years. And our product is high protein, low calorie, weight loss meals that don't taste like shitty chicken, rice, and broccoli, boring meals.
I've been through that notion too, man. We're like, I think it's first and foremost, man, that's so awesome. Thank you so much for coming on my show, dude.
Not a problem.
It means a lot to me, and I like talking with fitness people or people that are in the fitness realm, even if it's as someone who is a business owner or someone who's even a consumer that consumes specific products, So like, I'm like, I don't know, like for me, man, like fitness was the thing that got me right. Yep. Like I made some decent money before being overweight. I not only made greater money making myself like into a better version of myself via like working out and going to the gym and doing all the things that I've been doing. But like, dude, I truthfully believe this is the best version of me. And yep. I'm like 200 pounds lighter than what I used to be. And you know what I mean? Like, I think that too many people, especially in business, dude, and this is something that I see a lot of times happen. And if you're listening to this, you're probably guilty of this. We sacrifice our health in lieu of our business. And we say we don't have time to go to the gym. We don't have time to eat right. We don't have time to do any of those things. It's too expensive. It's too time consuming. It's dragging. I already had a stressful day at work. Now I got to go home and work on my business. And now you're doing your business and your work. And next thing you know, become a slave to those things. And then without proper nutrition or education in nutrition, what happens is you begin to lose a lot of weight. I'm speaking of this because I've gone through this. You know what I'm saying? And so like, man, I think that like guys like you who really help people eat correctly, even in the busiest times, like, dude, I didn't know anything about meal prepping, bro. Like, I've only thought that meal prep meant that I'd just take food with me to work, So I'd fill my lunchbox with everything I thought was healthy. Twix, fucking crackers and peanut butter, fucking sandwich, peanut butter and jelly, cheeseburger that you microwave, like, and then I'd have 3 variations of this meal. And that's what I thought meal prep was. You know what I'm saying? And so, like, I don't know, man. Like, I just know that with the product that you deliver and what you do, it helps so many people who don't know how to track their calories, who don't have the time to weigh out their proteins and their foods. And it's just a beautiful thing, man, truthfully.
Yeah. I mean, that's kind of the basis of it is I've told a lot of people I could not run the business that I run if not for the fact that I prep my own meals in the kitchen. I take them home, and throughout the week I have something I can throw in the microwave and eat in 2 minutes. Because back when I was meal prepping for myself, nowadays typically we do like a 13, 14 hour cook. It just depends. But back in the day when I used to meal prep for myself before I got into this, it was taking me like 6.5 hours to cook my food for the week. And I would usually cook 3 recipes, 5 to 6 servings of each. and then I would eat that throughout the week. And that's a lot of freaking time. And I think the big problem, particularly for people who are like business owners, where your life is just go, go, go all the time, is you reach a point where your time is better invested in building your business, in trying to make money, than it is standing in your kitchen at home cooking. And then people realize that, and they get into this position where they're like, oh, well, now I'm going to eat out for every meal. You know, I'm a business owner. I make good money. You know, I can afford it, and that's great. But can you afford what it's going to do to your health? Is what happens at the end of the day. And so our kind of goal is to make our food tasty and attainable, because so many meal prep services, I've seen larger companies that ship nationally and everything, they charge $14, $15, $16 a meal. We're talking $15 for a 4 or 5 ounce chicken plate.
Wow.
With rice and broccoli. It's like, that's boring. I know for a fact that it doesn't cost nearly that much to produce that meal and make it profitable. So our meals average about $10 a piece. So overall across the board. And I've got meals, most of my meals I make a pretty typical restaurant profit margin on. I've got meals like any of our premium proteins, our steaks and our salmon, that I make very little money on. When it's all over with, because of how expensive the materials are that go into the meal, we make very little money, but we still produce it because I know that, you know, people want that.
Yeah.
And it's what's necessary in order for us to, to have that in the marketplace. We have to price it competitively. But for me, it's a big deal to give people the opportunity to do more of the things that they want to do, whether it's spending time with their family, having time to actually go to the gym because they're not having to cook, and mitigating food loss. So on average, the typical American throws away over 30% of the groceries that they buy every single year, which is a shitload of food. And all that food is going to waste while there's people in the world that are starving to death. So, and you know, not to get too philosophical about it, but for me, you know, our company on average has a loss percentage somewhere between 2 and 3%. We lose very little. And typically that loss goes home with me and becomes food for my family. So there's no real loss in this business because everything is calculated. So anybody who orders from us is helping mitigate food loss. They're saving themselves time. At the end of the day, the food is not that much more expensive than buying groceries, planning it, going home, cooking it, washing dishes, and doing all this crap when there's a million other things that you'd rather be doing.
Man, that's fascinating, bro. You know, I want to throw this out there because I think that this is valuable for both what you're doing in your business and also just for everybody here that's listening in general. So this right here is something that I learned when I went to a business mastery with Tony Robbins, right? And here, I'm going to pull it up. It's called the 6 Basic Human Needs. And there are different variations of each one, but this is what I love so much, right? And so this is going to ensure that people consistently do business with you if you fulfill them in all 6 categories. The 6th version of this human need is what I love about what you just said right now, and I've never heard of a meal prep company even factoring that in. And I've had one other person who does meal preps on this show. And so look, this is crazy. The first human need is certainty. This is an assurance that you can avoid pain and gain pleasure, meaning that when I buy the product, I'm fulfilled. I'm not going to be hurt by this product. The second thing is uncertainty or variety. And so this is the need for the unknown change or something that gives you a new stimuli. And so it stimulates you. You're like, holy crap, when I went to your menu and I saw pork on that menu, you hit that human need without even realizing the psychological benefits of that. Because I don't ever see any of these meal prep people doing pork. And the way that you cook it, the way that you make it, you prep it in a fashion and a shape and a form that is beneficial to the body. You know what I'm saying? And so like that was something that stood out to me. I wasn't expecting that on a meal prep menu. And I remember you mentioned that you make meals for people who want to lose weight, and it's not the same type of meal. Well, I mean, you can also make meal for bodybuilders. Yeah. Obviously, you have that going on too, but that's not your primary focus. It's just health in general so that people can live longer, do more things. The third thing is significance. That's feeling unique, important, special, or needed. And so like you came to my studio yourself, the owner of Fit Footy, to meet with me in person. No one does that. And nor, like I'm telling you, when I do the other meal prep companies, bro, they send somebody to my office. I don't even get a chance to meet the owner of the company. I don't even come and shake my hand. Don't really care. Don't even know who I am.
I can tell you there's plenty of weeks where I do my own deliveries, and I always make it a point to introduce, if I have the opportunity to introduce myself to the customer as the owner of the company. Because to me, I agree with you. It feels special.
It does.
It feels more like you're working with who you are working with, which is a local small business. When the owner comes to your house and says, hey, I didn't have a delivery driver to drop this off for you today. I brought it myself in my vehicle with my gas, and here it is.
Nice.
So it's important.
Dude, you know, Gary Vee did that one time when he was selling wine for his boss, for his dad who owned the wine company. He actually went during Christmas Day to a customer who wanted the wine so badly. They called, made huge complaints about it. They had one crate of this wine left, and he drove across town 2.5 hours to go and deliver this wine to this person in the middle of a freaking snowstorm, and she wasn't even grateful. But she got her wine, and she went back to his store, and the job was done. And he said, this is how I always want to operate my business, regardless of whether or not the customer is happy. I deliver a service and an experience. So that's the third one. That's significance. The fourth one is connection. And this is a strong sense of unity between the person you're doing business with and your customer, your client. It's so, dude, you know, customer relationship to the business, it's just not nurtured enough the way that it should be.
Yeah.
And then, because, you know, it's such a consumable product. Like, people don't know how to replicate that and turn it into a service. The fifth one is growth. And that's an expansion of capacity, capability of understanding that turns you into a better individual. And so if your product makes someone better, you're hitting that human need. And then the sixth one, this is my favorite one, and you touched on it. This is the first time I've ever heard it touched on, especially in your industry with what you've been able to accomplish, is contribution. It's a sense of service and focus on helping, giving to, and supporting others. Anybody who does business with Infinite Productions, bro, we do a food drive, not food drive, we do a toy drive every single year. You know, last year we skipped it. I was going through a huge breakup, so didn't get a chance to do it, but it's been an every year thing. So like a portion of what we make in this production company, I don't even know if Paloma knows this because she's been sporadic with me. I think this is the longest that she's been employed here, but I take about 15 to 20% of what this production company makes. And my income goes to buying toys for kids in the women's and children's battered shelters. These are kids and mothers that get the shit kicked out of them by piece of crap men, and then they have to stay in these shelters where sometimes, bro, they don't get the holidays. They don't get the Thanksgiving under the tree, or they don't get the Christmas under the tree with all the toys. They don't get the family gatherings with the meals and the turkey and all of that. So, you know, we donate to those causes, man. And I think that when you do business with a company that contributes to the betterness of society as a whole, you're doing something that no one else in the industry is doing, man. And it's powerful, bro. It's powerful. I wanted to ask you, Cam, how did you even get going with all of this? Like, what did your first client even look like? Is that somebody who still buys food from you today?
So, unfortunately, no. Let me take a drink real quick.
Go ahead, man. Go ahead. It's just, you know, it's interesting seeing the different variations of, like, just ways that people can do business, man. And I like that you've capitalized on such an opportunity to take what most people do inside of a restaurant and run it the same experience, same type of way, still using restaurant quality equipment, materials, and everything that you need to prep the food and delivering an experience. So I'm just curious how that was even inspired.
So I had a buddy of mine who I've known since we were in middle school. His name's Jonathan Ramirez. He's a mailman here in San Antonio. Mailmen do not get appreciated enough. It's a nightmare of a job. But that's what he does. And so he's on his feet all the time. He's always walking around, and they'll go park the truck and then they'll walk a portion of the route. And so I remember talking to him, and we used to play video games together all the time. And I asked him, I said, dude, I'm like, how are you possibly out of shape? Like all you do all day is walk around. How are you possibly out of shape? And he was talking to me about, you know, what he eats and everything, because the root of everything for me, and like you kind of kicked it off, was weight loss. Because I feel like weight loss and fitness changed my entire perspective on life. Because for me, it's almost like taking somebody who has, you know, never believed in God their whole life, and all of a sudden they find God. And it's this thing that just consumes their mind. It's all they can think about. They become obsessed with it, and they're like, God, I have been so positively impacted by this realization, and I want to spread it. I want to give it to other people. So I have found myself, even though this may sound a little corny, since I lost weight and since I kind of got involved in fitness, I found myself wanting to preach that gospel to my friends and my family and people that I know who are the person that I used to be, who was overweight, didn't understand nutrition, didn't understand any of that. So I would talk about it with my friends all the time, and my buddy John had some pounds to lose. And so he started talking to me. He's like, well, this is what I eat for breakfast, lunch, and dinner. And I'm like, well, it's pretty obvious to me why you're not, why you're having issues with weight.
Yeah.
All the food he was eating was not bad food. It was just high calorie density. So it's foods where you don't get a whole lot of volume, but you get a shitload of calories.
Yeah.
So I told him, I said, look, I can help you with this. I can, I'll give you a meal plan and this and that. And he's like, that's fine, dude. And he's like, but I can't cook. He's like, and admittedly, my wife doesn't know how to cook the things that you need me to eat in order for me to gain the results that I want. So, and he's like, the only way I'd be able to do this is if you did it for me.
Wow.
I'm like, what do you mean? Like, what do you mean did it for you? He's like, well, if you cook for me. He's like, you cook every week, right? I'm like, yeah. He says, okay, well, just whatever you're going to eat that week, just make me some of whatever you're going to eat that week. And I was like, So I did that for 2 weeks before he kind of fell off the program for various reasons. But it kind of made me realize, like, there's something here in capitalizing on individuals who have a goal but don't know how to get there. Because the thing about weight loss is it's very simple, but it's not easy. So the simplicity of it is there. You eat less calories than you burn, you lose weight. But it's not an easy thing to do. And that's the reason the meal prep works so well, because it makes it easy. It's not, you have to go into the kitchen and weigh out your rice and do this and do that. You go into the kitchen, you grab a container, you already know the macros, you throw it in the microwave and you eat it. So that's kind of how I got started was with him. But realistically, I think I worked in sales for a long time. I sold residential swimming pools for the world's largest pool builder. And I was a designer and a salesperson. And when hyperinflation kind of got into full swing, that was one of the first things people stopped buying. Because of course you don't need a swimming pool to live. Yeah. I don't own a swimming pool. They
don't necessarily add value to the houses either. No. That's a crazy thing. It's just a totally luxurious thing to have.
Exactly.
And there are people that don't want to buy swimming pools because they're afraid that their kids are going to fall in it.
Yep.
And drown.
There's people that are scared of it, and there's the people that are aware of the fact that they don't add much value to your home. Varies based on the size of the home, the price of the home, and where you live. But in general, it's not going to do much. It's typically somewhere around half or less of what you spend on the pool. And at that time, prices had skyrocketed. They're like $100K.
$100,000 to jump a pool in the backyard?
The average pool right now is about $100,000.
Wow.
And actually probably a little bit more now. But they become unattainable for a lot of the average day-to-day people. And so people kind of stop buying. And when you work in commission sales, people stop buying. Well, you stop making money. So right around that time was when my buddy reached out to me and we were talking about that, and I did a little bit of food prep for him. And I was sitting there realizing, like, if I go very much longer, my commissions are going to continue to dwindle. No matter what I do, I'm working twice as much as I used to and making half as much money. I got to do something. So I kind of capitalized on the skill that I had. I've lost all this weight. I can use my before and after shots. I know how to cook. I love cooking. I've got all these recipes that I've thrown together over the last 2 or 3 years that I've been meal prepping, and I just kind of started cooking. I've got some experience in web development. I started doing web development when I was like 10 years old. I grew up a total geek.
Same, man.
Yeah, I was a geek my whole growing up. So I got into that. So I was able to kind of build out my website, and I handle all my back end stuff. And to this day, the only employees I have are people in the kitchen that use their hands. I don't have anybody on the back end of this business running it for me. So which is exhausting. And I would not be able to do it without meal prep, because otherwise I'd waste a bunch of time cooking every week.
Yeah.
So, yeah.
I think we got to wear our hats in our business at the beginning, man. Like,
oh, yeah.
You know what your strengths are, and it's super awesome, because most people that are in sales don't necessarily work the back end at all. They just are all front end.
Yeah.
Feed me people and I will close them. That is how I've always been when it came to
talkers.
Sales. You put someone in front of me and you tell me that this product is reputable and it can do something for this guy. I just need a proof of concept and I'm running it.
Exactly.
But to be able to work the back end, the follow-up systems, the integrations, the systematic approach to things, and then just the idea of developing it into an even more refined machine is just a very taboo, like it's a taboo topic because it's a boring topic.
Yeah.
And most people aren't really ready for that conversation, man, because not everybody's a born integrator either. And to integrate the back end is just the hardest part of an entire business. And I got to ask you, man, because I know to do all of this requires some sense of drive and purpose. What's the most fulfilling thing about what you do?
So for me, so I grew up here in San Antonio, grew up in, a household with a single mother who we struggled a lot when I was growing up. And for my mother, my mom's always struggled with her weight. And when she was a kid, her mom used to, be on her about her weight. Oh, you need to lose weight and this and that. And I know I don't look like it. I'm looking at the camera, but I have Latino heritage. And my family tends to be like a lot of Latino families where a lot of people are overweight. Genetics in my family are not fantastic. A lot of people have diabetes and all these different things.
We live in San Antonio. That's a big factor.
And, and the funny thing, just kind of a tangent, the funny thing about Mexican food is people always claim Mexican food it's so unhealthy. It's really not. If you make Mexican food in a certain way, Mexican food is some of the most nutrient-rich, high-protein foods you can eat, depending on how you make it. But growing up, that's not really what we ate. So my family, there's a lot of people that are overweight, and it's something that I personally struggled with for a very long time. When I was a kid, I was born with a brain thing. I had to have brain surgery when I was like less than a year old. And because of that, I was never in sports. I never did any sports because head trauma was always a big concern for my mother and everything. So because of that, I was never an athlete. I never played any sports. I never really went outside. I didn't do anything active. I mostly sat in front of a computer all day and just got fat. And because of the way that my mother was brought up, she didn't want to subject me to the same kind of, the same kind of criticism that she grew up with about my weight. So she never really said anything to me about it. And then growing up, I just kind of realized, everybody for the most part after high school kind of balloons. Most of the people that I know after high school, especially if they were thin in high school because they were athletes or something, they all gain a bunch of weight afterwards.
Yeah.
And for me, what it really comes down to is I want to spread the gospel of, wellness and fitness. And I want to show other people that there are affordable, attainable options for them to take charge of their health that do not involve them taking the time that I took to sit down and learn all the nutrition and learn, everything required to actually develop these recipes. You can go and buy these meals from me at an affordable price, and they're going to help you hit those goals. I want to help people in my community attain what I have attained, which is just an overall better level of health and just feeling so much better. Dude, life is easier.
I love it, man. And it's so dope that you're touching on this topic because fitness to me is such a big thing, especially when it comes to business and mindset. Like if you can see a dude in the gym, you know that they have the capabilities if they were able to carve out the determination that it takes to be able to even gain and sustain muscle mass. And I've seen it in every single aspect, bro. Like I've been in strength training gyms, seeing guys deadlift 700, 800 pounds. The biggest amount of weight I've ever deadlifted was over a little 700 pounds. My squat was over 800. And that was at the height of my game, but I was not healthy. I was just strength training. Yeah. And so strength training is entirely different. And that aspect don't even matter what you look like on the outside. Most guys who do strength training are really fat because it's a massive amount of calories that get burned when you're pushing 80% of your max. But man, like truthfully, dude, like I feel like when people get introduced to fitness and they've never really learned this before, it comes at you in waves. Like for me, man, I really wanted so badly to just figure this shit out. And so I just decided to get a gym membership. That was stop number one. Stop number one after that, I realized that my diet wasn't there. I tried the keto diet. I tried random shit. I didn't know anything about dieting, bro. and you know what, dieting, man, isn't just what you eat. It's also what you put in your mind. Yep. You know what I'm saying? It's literally what's up here too. And so like I was just consuming pornography and fucking just doing dumb shit that was literally lowering my testosterone level. And then I was wondering why I wasn't losing more weight. I remember I plateaued because I was 426. I got all the way down to 350 and I couldn't even figure out why I couldn't lose more weight. And so I said, you know what? I'm going to figure this shit out. Second thing I hired was a nutritionist, bro. And then lo and behold, meal prepping came in.
Yep.
And I never meal prep before, and I hired a gal who was doing it out of her house, and then learned so much from her about fitness and nutrition. She would make my meals the same way every single week.
Yep.
No spices, no real anything, just straight lean food. And I finally got down to 300. And that time frame was about 6 months. And then I hit that plateau again. And I realized that all I was ever doing was arm exercises and chest exercises. So I started focusing on my legs. I hired a personal trainer, and he taught me how to squat, taught me how to do Bulgarian squats, taught me how to balance myself. Dude, I mean, like, I could barely squat the bar when I started.
Yeah.
It was crazy, Cam. Like, I could barely even squat the bar. But it's like a combination. It was like a yin yang, dude. You know, once I met my trainer, and I combined it with the nutritionist, and then I combined it with the mindset that I obtained from just doing the shit, and then combined it with hormone therapy, because I realized that all the years of bad eating,
Oh yeah.
it really took a toll on my body,
They
dude.
trash your body long term.
I had no idea.
Yeah.
I had no idea. And then I went and I got my blood work done and my lab work done. And guess what they told me? My testosterone level was less than a woman's. It was 86. It was almost non-existent. And I was wondering why I was dragging myself through my workouts.
Yeah.
You know, man, if you're watching this and you're in your early 20s, dude, God forbid, when you get to your 30s, you go and you get your blood work done and you find out that because you're inactive this whole time, that your testosterone level was what was making you depressed this whole time. You don't want to have to be dependent on TRT.
No.
You can focus solely on being fit now if you are young and maintain and sustain that all the way until your 30s, and you won't have to be on testosterone.
Yep.
You know, and I'm not saying that I have to, but I'm saying that it is something that I need to regulate my testosterone levels.
Yeah.
I've tried every natural thing in the book, Cam, every natural thing in the book, and none of it works. And so for me, now having to be on TRT, that is like a for life thing, man.
Yep.
Now, I don't do what a lot of bodybuilders do, where they abuse it and they shoot themselves 3 to 4 times, sometimes even 5 times a week to maintain that 2,000 to 3,000 testosterone level. They lose hair, gain hair in all these other places. Their nipples are sensitive. They're out of whack. They're very sporadic with their emotions. You can tell when someone's juicing and they're doing things like that. But if you are watching this, man, you're listening, like, I'm very open about what I put in my body, man, when it comes to food. You know, right now, this whole podcast and this whole episode and this whole, like, my demeanor for the next couple of weeks, you're going to see me tagging Fit Foodie in my shit because we're basically being sponsored by this guy's company right now. And, you know, I support his vision. We talked before we even decided. And it's something that I just want to always be open about. And I don't think that it's something that I should lie about. Like, I don't have these big ass arms or the chest that I got or any of the, like, the size of my legs and thighs that I got right now that I was able to acquire just on my own. It took people like you sitting in front of me to show me what I was missing, to get me right, to really see actual results. And so, man, like, truthfully, man, just take care of yourself while you're young. And I promise you, when you get to my age, you won't have to do half of the things that I'm doing to maintain.
The honest truth is, I mean, I realize almost daily that I'm fighting now against the choices I made in the past because I was obese for a very long time. When I was a kid, I was really, really skinny, like stick skinny. And then I think probably around like age 9-ish, I went from really, really underweight to, I guess not really underweight, but fairly underweight to a little bit overweight. And then it just kind of went a little bit up from there, a little bit up from there. In high school, I remember very specifically, I was 248-ish pounds in high school. I was about 6'2", 6'1", 6'2". Now I'm somewhere around 6'4", and right now I'm sitting about 230, 235.
Nice.
So it was a huge accomplishment for me when I got below my high school weight. But it's funny when you kind of talk about how you flip-flopped between all these different things that you were like, how the hell do I do this?
Yep.
Because nutrition feels so complex and weight loss feels so complex when you're first getting into it, especially if you're somebody who's never done anything athletic in your freaking life, like myself.
Yeah.
I've never been an athlete, never played a sport, never did any of that. So because of that, I didn't really have the discipline. I didn't have the self-control. I didn't know how to work out, even if I freaking wanted to. So it was a lot that I had to learn. And I'm also very cheap. So I learned the majority of the stuff that I learned from YouTube. And the wonderful thing about YouTube is there's a bunch of bullshit on there. Yeah. There's tons of lies on YouTube. So when I first started out and I decided I was going to lose weight, it was like a competition that I started with me, my fiance, my mother, and my stepfather. And I won. Just FYI, they never actually announced me the winner, but everybody else eventually kind of phased out of it. But it was in December of 2019. It was like a New Year's thing, and my daughter was born in April of 2019. So, I was like, new father, this kid is going to start running one of these days, and I got to keep up with her. So I was like, okay, I'm going to lose some weight, and we all got into doing low carb. So I knew off the bat I couldn't do keto. I just didn't have the self-discipline for it, but we did low carb. So for the first 6 months of me losing weight, it's probably where I lost most of my weight. I lost about 60 pounds in the first 6 to 8 months. All I ate for just about every single meal was either eggs and turkey sausage, or actually at the time it was pork sausage, eggs and pork sausage, or I would have meat and vegetables. And it was always high fiber veggies. So I'd have a couple pork chops, high fat for the low carb, and then I'd have a side of broccoli. And I cut out soda completely. All I ever drank during that period of time was water. Now I do diet sodas and I do all that because there's nothing wrong with them at the end of the day. But during that time, it was this really, really hardcore discipline. And one of the big things that I did was fasting. I did intermittent fasting. Yep. So what I would do is I would eat all my food within an 8-hour window every day. And at the time, I was under the impression that fasting was this magic thing. Oh, you ketones and this and that. And the science is kind of up in the air. It really doesn't do a whole lot. It's not the best thing if you're trying to gain muscle because you need protein synthesis on a frequency. But I did that.
And the carbs transfer to energy.
Exactly. So if you're training and you're not doing carbs, good freaking luck.
Dude, it is empty.
It's a huge difference.
I did the carnivore diet. Fuck that. Yeah. Yo, I'm not going to lie. I lost 15 pounds doing the carnivore diet.
And it's fun to eat on that diet, too.
It is, because you're just eating meat. But, dude, I don't know what it was, bro. I am so used to having my 200 to 300 carbs a day, bro. Yes. And if I don't have that and I go to do a workout, it just feels empty.
Yes.
My body doesn't know where to pull from.
Yeah.
And it pulls
it's like
from
you're
fat.
sick.
Literally what it feels like.
It feels like you're trying to go to the gym and you got the flu or something.
Especially when you've been geared up on food preps for 2 years straight. It's kind of fuck, we did the carnivore diet with my last meal prep lady, and I did that for a solid 30 days, bro. Yeah. And I lost pretty much 15 pounds. Bro.
Oh, yeah. The real question is, how much of it was muscle?
Yep, exactly.
That's the thing. You lost 15 pounds on the scale, but it all comes down to how much of it was muscles. Mm-hmm. It's every time that right now I'm in a cut, I'm cutting at 2,300 calories a day. My maintenance is 2,800.
It's good.
And whenever you get into a cut, you have to raise your protein. Otherwise, you're going to lose muscle.
Yep.
You have to raise your protein, and you have to hit the gym just as hard, if not harder. And it's more difficult when your body is undernourished during that period of time. But the biggest reason that I think the intermittent fasting is great for people who are trying to lose weight, particularly people like me, is it helped me with my control. Mm-hmm. Because for me, it was all right, 10 p.m., no more food. 2 p.m. now I can, or 2 p.m. the following day, now I can eat. But 10 p.m., no more food, period. And my fiance is not doing this with me. So, she's eating healthier and she's cut out regular soda and everything. But during that time, she's like, hey, try, a bite of this. And it's 10:15. I'm like, I can't. She's like, yes, you can. You physically can do it. No, I can't. So it's a big thing about establishing that kind of self-control.
Yep.
When you're a person like myself who was never an athlete, never did anything like that, didn't have the discipline for it. It was an opportunity for me to kind of develop that. And I mean, just so much of what I learned in the process of losing weight and trying to build muscle and everything is transferable to business.
Yep.
Because you had mentioned plateauing with your weight, right? Well, there's I think it was an Alex Hormozy podcast that I saw where he was talking about how everything in business is all about hitting a wall. Yep. So every time you're in business, you're okay, I'm going to fix customer experience. I'm going to fix the product. I'm going to fix this. And eventually you hit a wall. And when you hit that wall, you're making a certain amount of money. You can't break past that. It's because one of those things is out of whack. Yeah. And the moment you find that thing that's out of whack and you fix it, you break through that wall, and then eventually you hit another wall. And you just keep hitting walls. And it's the same thing when you're losing weight, is you cut at a certain number of calories. You're like, all right, I know I can eat 2,000 a day and I'll lose weight. And then all of a sudden you reach a point where 2,000 is your maintenance, and now you're stuck. Yeah. And it's like, all right, now what do I have to do to break through this wall and get to the next point? So, and the closer you are to a healthy weight, the more difficult it is to lose weight.
Dude,
you got to work a lot harder.
And I think that's so crazy because I like people always ask me, they say what was the hardest part about losing weight? And I told him it was just starting, dude. Like starting was as hard as it was. And I know this sounds crazy because if anybody goes and works out with me, dude, I have a crazy routine. And I've known this because I work out with people that can't even keep up, man.
Yeah.
And it's not like it's a competition. It's not.
No.
I just can tell that I train in a specific way that most people don't. And I've been trained by some of the best bodybuilders in San Antonio, man. I've gotten a chance to learn a lot from strength trainers in San Antonio. So I do cycles. I do 3 months strength training, bulking like a motherfucker, bro. Just eating as much as I humanly can. And then I'll do 3 months of just what do you call it? It's when you muscle hypertrophy with now on a calorie deficit. And that's just me cutting everything and going into sustaining muscle mass. And I'll cycle that every 3 to 4 months. You know, and so like when I say this is that the hardest that it ever was, bro, was at the beginning, man. Literally. Like if I train now, yes, I train hard, but it's easy now for me to train that way. And the person at the beginning that couldn't fit inside of certain machines at the gym, that was one ballsy motherfucker, bro. Because I used to go to the gym and there would be machines that I couldn't fit in. And I put on fucking boxing gloves and just throw at the bag because that's all I could do. Or I'd get on a treadmill that didn't have the bars on the side because I always felt embarrassed that I could touch them very easily just by throwing my fat around from running, man. And so like there was a lot of like lack of confidence at the beginning and insecurity at the beginning of my journey.
And that shit drives you.
It does.
The thing is, you'll never be as badass as you were back then. Unfortunately, you never will be. Because that was the hardest part.
It was. I tried the other day, bro. So at the gym I work out at is owned by my friend Cameron Davies. And Cameron's a really cool dude, bro. I get like a membership with him and I sponsor his bra fights every single time he throws one. And, you know, we get a table and a couple chairs. I never go. I always have things going on. But, you know, I sponsor because I support local businesses, man. And so, you know, Cameron has that boxing gym. He's had 2 boxers go to ESPN on big. Mario Barrios is one of them on big contracts to box on a national level. And so like so proud of what Cameron's done. And he has a big business called Cruisin' Kitchens. So he takes companies like Whataburger and makes Whataburger food trucks for them. He's made a food truck for Paul Wall. He's made a food truck for Rockstar where you can get Rockstar on tap, dude. And it's crazy, man. Like the fucking Whataburger machine has a shake machine on tap. You just walk up and fill up your own cup, man. It's next level. He even built one for Patrick Mahomes' food truck business. It's a Kansas City Chiefs fucking thing. It's a multi-million-dollar business. He's a really cool dude. So like, you know, at his gym, he added a whole new section of the gym. It's a warehouse gym, so there's no ventilation. I go in there and I sweat like a dog. I like working under those climates because to me it's conditioning, you know. And so like, I found 100-pound vests there. 100-pound vest, dude. Normally people fucking rock like 50-pound, 75-pound vests. And so I was like, fuck, man. All right, I'm going to try this out. Because I used to be that weight. It shouldn't be much harder. It's 330. I wasn't even, you know, that's 100 pounds less than where I started. I put it on, strapped it to my chest, tried to do the same workouts that Q 1.0 tried to do. And dude, I was struggling, dude. I mean, I was done in 15 minutes, gassed. Trying to do the same workouts that version of Q did. And so if you're starting this right now, just know, man, you tougher than me just by starting. And that's a beautiful thing to say.
I love, my favorite thing when I'm at the gym is, I mean, when I'm at the gym, I see dudes that are bigger than me and I'm like, fuck yeah, I'm going to do that. You know what I mean? But when I see people at the gym who look like old me, when I see people in the gym who never even touch the weight, they're just, you know, on a bicycle or something, and they're, you know, 300-400 pounds, dude, almost makes me want to tear up. Because that's the hardest part of their whole journey. It ultimately, an object in motion stays in motion. So as soon as you get going and you get that momentum, that's it. For me, I feel kind of the same way. Like sometimes I get a little self-conscious because I'll go to the gym, I'll hit a really hard workout and I can feel it. You know what I mean? I love drop sets. So that's why a lot of people that I like to work out with
start heavy and
hate
drop?
My guts. Well, drop sets. So typically what you do is you'll go up to your height. Exactly. You go up to your max that you can do, and then you'll drop about 20% and do it again. And I usually double. So I'll drop another 20% and do it again. And by the end of it, we'll do like lateral raises where I don't even have dumbbells in my hands. I'm just doing no weight. And it hurts like hell. And I love that. And a lot of people have trouble working out with me because they can't stand that, the drop sets. So
it's still awesome, man. And I think that any variation of exercise is beneficial, even if it's just getting on that damn treadmill.
Or just walking down the street.
I feel the same way if I find someone and I see them at the gym and they're heavy as hell. I'm like, man, fuck yeah, dude. Let me follow you, bro. Let me follow you and show you what I did because I was just like that one time. You know, and they're like, what? How did you do it? And yada, yada, yada. I tell them, bro, ask questions. Yeah. You go to the gym, you meet so many people, man. Like I've had 2 other food prep companies I've worked with in the past, never at the capacity of the way that you want to work with me. And that's honestly something that I can truthfully say. I'm not undermining those companies because both of them were amazing and I love them and they served in my life for that chapter and that section. And now having meeting someone who's trying to take it to that level, it's also humbling to me because I also know that you used to be overweight and there's a lot that we relate on the business aspect of things, you know? So I'm just super excited, dude. What do you feel is the future of what you're trying to do with your company?
So there's a company out of California. It's called Healthy Penguin, and they are
a cool name.
It is a really cool ass name. So sometimes I see names for some of these other prep companies. I'm like, damn, I screwed up. I should have had a name like that. But that place is based out of I think out of the LA area, of course, and they have refrigerators set up in gyms all over the state of California. Where people can walk into that gym and they can pull a meal and they can pay for it and they can walk out. They've also got their own facility. It's a huge, commercial kitchen facility production facility basically that they cook out of. And for me, I think a lot of people that get into business do so with the intent of not working for somebody else, which is great. And the reality is, just like we need people in the world who have day jobs, 9-to-5 day jobs and work for people, those people are fully necessary. The people who quit their jobs because they want to become self-employed, those people are fully necessary. I feel like when I finally quit my job after working 9 months, 7 days a week, doing my day job and then doing this on the weekends, when I finally quit my job, I did that with the intent of building a company, never with the intent of self-employment. I'm not looking to just quit working for somebody else. I'm looking to build a business that's going to employ people and improve their lives. And because for me, I feel like that is the only vision that I could possibly have that's going to achieve the goal that I have, which is to help as many people as possible reach health and wellness and get it into their hands. Because, the bigger we are, the more we can do that. We're one of the most affordable companies here in San Antonio. I mean, I've looked at a lot of other companies. Most of them are $12 to $14 a meal. We average $10 a meal across the whole menu, which includes steak meals, salmon meals, more expensive proteins, and some of our steak and salmon meals are $12 or $13. But $12 or $13 is what some people charge for a chicken meal.
Yeah.
So we try to make everything as affordable as possible, and I think that if we can grow as much as possible, it will make it the most possible for us to help as many people as we can.
Amen. Amen.
So,
dude, Cam, it was super awesome having you on the show, bro. For everybody here, man, I'm going to drop his Instagram, Facebook, where you can follow him in the chat section. I appreciate you being on the show, my dude. I'll catch you guys on the next one. Let's get it.
I want the check.